Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a ChatGPT clone and eventually use this technology to make your own SaaS product. Now, what is a SaaS product? A SaaS product is a software as a service. This basically means that you create a software and then you sell it as a service. And you can sell it business to business, business to customer. There's many ways to go around this. So I'm going to show you the starting steps to make your own SaaS product. Now, why is this OpenAI API technology so great for SaaS products? Well, it allows anyone to use this new AI that they produced and implement it into whatever software they want to make. You can basically take the technology that ChatGPT is and change it just the slightest bit and make your own software out of it. Right, so here are a few examples of some apps that use the GPT API within their apps. All right, so we have Copy AI, Magic Sales Bot, there's plenty of them. Scholarly AI, this is an AI that helps students study. Notion, a big company, using it to just help you come up with ideas, right? So there's a lot of ways to implement it, and this is just the start. There's so many different capabilities that this has that people just haven't utilized yet. All right, so now that I think we covered what a SaaS product is and why the OpenAI API is such a vital thing to use in the future to get ahead of your competition, I think we can start building the application. So the two things we have to download for this project are going to be Node.js, which allows us to install packages like the OpenAI package to use their API. So just pick the right OS. I'll have this link in the description. And then we also need a code editor. So I use VS Code and I suggest that you do the same. But if you prefer a different one, feel free to use it. The next thing we need to do is to get an OpenAI key, right? I'll have this link in the description as well. But basically all you do is you log into your account, go over here, hit View API Keys. I'm going to remove this one and create a new secret key. And do not lose this information. So what I'm going to do is copy this and throw it into a notepad, right? I would recommend keeping this tab open. This is the documentation to the API. So if you have any issues, the first thing I would do is to go through here and see if you can solve your issue by going through the documentation. Okay, next thing is we're gonna need to open up the Quasar documentation. So Quasar is the framework we're going to be using to build this application. Quasar is just a Vue.js. If you've used that, it's extremely similar. Quasar is just a simplified version almost that just allows you to start your app and create a product as fast as possible. This will be a key page to have open. It will have all the information you need to get started. All right, now we have everything downloaded. We have the API key and we have the documents open. We can now start building the application. All right, so first thing we're going to do is open up a new folder in your VS Code. It's going to put a new folder of YouTube tutorial, right? Select this folder. Yes, I trust the author. And click, I'm going to go ahead and open up console. Now let's go back into the documentation and go to the first page, right? It's going to tell you, and the too long didn't read, this is how you start it up. So the first thing I'd recommend you guys do is npm to make sure that your npm is installed correctly. Okay, so to initialize the Quasar project and to begin the building process, go ahead and type in npm init Quasar. Now this is going to ask you a few questions on how you want your Quasar project built. So I would suggest you just do exactly what I do. First one, enter. I'll just call it maybe tutorial. You want to use Quasar v2, JavaScript, use Vite. Webpack and Vite are basically the same thing, but I prefer Vite. Tutorial. I'm just going to call this tutorial as well. Tutorial description. I'm going to put my name as the author. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Okay, now it's going to go through the process of building the app. Alright, so once you get this message, the app has been successfully built. So let's go over some of the folders and what you need to know to be able to work on this project. VS Code, these two are not important. Public is going to be where you put your photos or icons or anything you need to save. The source page is the most important folder. This holds the CSS, the layouts, pages, and router, which are all important folders. The CSS is the colors of your app that you want. The main layout is basically a page with on top of each page that has like the header and the sidebar that you'll see in a second. Pages are the actual pages within your app, and then the route.js connects those pages together. So that's all you really need to know. There's a few things in the quasar.config that are useful, but for this tutorial, you won't need to touch that. All right, let's go ahead and open the app and see what we have. So first thing you want to do is cd into the tutorial folder, and then type in npx quasar dev. So what this is going to do is open up the template that everyone should start with. It's going to look the same for everyone unless there's a new Quasar update. So if your number's not the same but yours looks different, they probably just changed how it looks. The first thing we're going to do is remove this main layout because we just want a simple page that shows the capabilities of ChatGPT. So in order to do this, you go to Quasar Layout Builder, click this, and I'm just going to unselect all of them, export the layer, and copy it. You head back to VS Code, hit the main layout.view, and you're going to want to highlight all of this since this is just not needed information anymore. Paste that in, and it should look like this. Save it. Now check it out. Everything is gone. So now we just have a blank page. Now we can work on the index page. I'm going to remove this image, and I'm going to get rid of the flex center and just add padding. So it's just a white page now. Now we can begin creating the index page or the home page and make it look how we want and function how we want it to, right? So first thing first, I'm going to add a div of, just call it main, and this is going to hold everything. I'm going to put a style sheet down here and add .main. I'm going to make the max width 1200 pixels, and I'm going to make the margin 0 auto, and then the background blue so I can see where it is. Right? Now let's check out the page, refresh, also add a height of 100 VH, and nice. So this is the div. I want it to be in the center of the page and only a certain max width, right? So if we go into mobile, it's going to look like that too. Obviously it's not going to be blue, but we want to see how it looks. Remove both of these. All right, next thing we're going to do is add a queue form so the user can submit his text to the AI bot so it can respond. Okay, so in order to do this, let's just make a queue form, give it a class of form, and then we want a queue input in here. I'm just going to tab this in. This is using GitHub Copilot, by the way. I'd recommend you get it if you are into coding. And then we're going to need a queue button, label submit. So what can we get rid of here? Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this and call it input. Queue button, submit, primary, submit, label, type something, ... Okay, let's see how this looks. Perfect. So we have this. Now we can do some sort of styling to just make it on one line. So let's take the form class, put it into the style sheet, .form. I want to make the display flex. And then I want to make the width 100%. Okay. Now this queue input, I'm going to just put a style in here of width 100, nope, let's do 95%, save it, nice, that's looking great. Okay, so now we have a nice input with a submit button. If you notice, every time you type something, it disappears. In order to fix that, we're actually going to have to add some JavaScript. So in this part is where the JavaScript goes. We're going to add a comma here and add a data field with a return of input. All right, so this is going to store the input information, and this V model will follow that. See, it stays now. Great. This can be erased. Now we want a way to be able to submit this form. So I'm going to do an @submit equals generate response. All right. And down here, after the data, we can add our methods. And then do generate response. And in order to just test it, we'll just put console.log this.input. Test. We can inspect the page, go to console and hit submit. Test. Perfect, it worked. Let's refresh the page and see what those errors are. Okay, nothing. Great. Okay, so if you're following along so far, great job. We've edited the page to be just a page with an input and a button on one single line that you can enter text in and then submit the text. The next step we're doing is to implement the OpenAI API. I'm going to go ahead and shut down this server by hitting Control-C. Why? It might be Command-C if you're on Mac. Now what we're going to do is install the OpenAI API. Go ahead and type in npm install OpenAI. Okay, so now in order to add this OpenAI API to our site or our application, we're going to need to import it, right? So go ahead and go into here, import, and then configuration, and then OpenAI API from OpenAI. Okay, let's work on making the completion call method now so we can actually connect to the API. First things first, we're going to need to add the OpenAI API key to our data. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in OpenAI API key and paste this in here. So this is my API key. Yours will obviously be different. And if you try to use this one, it won't work. I'm going to make a new method of completion call, and I'm going to make it async. If you guys are ever lost, by the way, just go into the API reference documentation and go into the chat, which is what we will be making. Make sure you're on Node.js, and then you can basically just copy this information and it should work. So that's exactly what we're going to do. First line is to add the configuration. I added this part so it can grab this key. Next line I'm going to do is const OpenAI equals new OpenAI API configuration. Go ahead and throw this in here and copy this part and throw it in. Okay, so make sure you guys have this part right. This is the most important part to get right. Completion dot data dot choices dot text, and I'm just going to do this dot completion call. Boom. So what is this doing? Basically, we're going to click the button within the form. It's going to generate the response, goes to this dot completion call. This dot completion call is right here. It's going to go through the necessary steps, and then it's going to grab the messages, which is right now set to user hello world. So it should be responding to hello world, and then we're going to console log the response. Let's see if it works. Try to open up the server again, npx Quasar dev. There we go. And open the console. Great. Okay, I got the user.agent. Why is it undefined? I believe this should be .messages. Let's see what that does. No. Data.choices.message. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then I can even go .content, right? Now let's refresh the page, hit it. Hello, how may I assist you today? Okay, so it's completion.data.choices message content. All right, we have now successfully connected our app to the API. We can now talk to ChatGPT. This is a huge step. We're almost done, guys. Okay, so what is the next step? Next step is to be able to take this information and put it into a list so we can actually see the response on our page. All right, guys, so the next step is to display the information onto the page. So in order to do this, I'm going to add a few more data fields. I'm going to add response, I'm going to add log, and I'm going to add messages. Okay. Now the messages field is so that we can replace this to actually respond to what we are asking. The log is what's going to show up on the page. The response is going to be the response from that specific call. And the input is also going to be what the input for that specific call. So we're going to need to make a few changes with the generate response. First, I'm going to make it an async function. And I'm going to make this await this .completion call. And I'm going to feed in this .input into the completion call. Now that we're giving it a field, we need to add a field up here. So let's put input into here. And we're going to make this into a .then. So after this function is completed, then these next lines are going to happen. So we can just go ahead and make it into the function. Okay, so after we make it a .then, this may not make sense right now, but it will in just a second. We're going to go this .log, .unshift, and then put into brackets. We want input to be this .input, and we want response to be this .response. Delete this. Okay, and after we do that, we want this .input to equal blank, as well as this .response to equal blank. Okay, now the issue here is that we haven't set response to anything yet. So up here, we're going to make this .response equal to completion.message.content. All right, the next step is that we need to make messages actually have the messages that we've given it and that it gives back to us, right? Right now, all it is doing is just responding to this, no matter what we say. So we need it to receive our input, and then we need to receive its output. In order to do this, we're going to add a few lines into the completion call. So within the first line, we're just going to do this .messages, .push, and we have to make sure it's in the same format as this, right? So user, content, input. This is going to add the input, which is exactly what we want. Now, that's already good enough to just put this .messages, okay? Now we have the content and the role. So right after this ends, we can add this .messages.push role. Instead of bot, we're going to add completion.data.choices 0.message.role. And just to make this more standardized, I'm going to make this .content. I'm also going to put this above here. Nice. So let's see where we're at right now in the app. Okay, refresh. Hello. Hello there, how can I assist you? My name is Chase. Hello Chase, it's nice to meet you. How can I assist you? What's my name? Your name is Chase. Awesome. So that's a great way to check if it knows what it was talking about before. So that's perfect. We now have the messages connected. All right, great work. We've now connected to the API and have the messages fully working. We basically have the complete capabilities of ChatGPT within our own application. All we have to do is display it in a good looking way. Let's get to it. Now the JavaScript part is completely done. All we have to do is display it in the HTML. We're going to add a new div, and it's going to have a class of chat log. Now this chat log is going to take a v4 of each item in the log. The log is going to hold each input and response. So we want to go through and hold all of those. So what this wrote out is actually pretty darn good. So I'm going to just tab it out and see what happens. Not bad, guys, right? Hello. User, hello. Bot, hello. How can I assist you? What is the color of the sun? Okay, so I'm going to just add a little bit of CSS, Q, margin, Y, medium. So what this does is, this is a Quasar class. Basically it does the Y-axis margin is going to be medium. So that just adds a small amount of spacing within them. And there we go, guys. Your app is pretty much done at this point. My name is Chase. This now has the capabilities of ChatGPT in your own application. All right, so at this point, the app has been fully built out and the functionality is perfect. The next steps would be to make the styling look better and then adding your own functionality to it to make it a unique app. If you guys like this tutorial, I can make a new tutorial showing some potential examples on how to use this technology to make a software as a service. I can show you guys how to connect it to a backend and then eventually make it a full stack where you can see what your users are inputting and what the bot responds with. There's many more tutorials I can do. Hit that like button and give me some feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys.